This presentation for the participants of Florida Family Cafe is effective partnerships promoting career and college success for transitioning young adults. My name is Brian Geiger, and I'm the director of the Horizons School. The outline of our content for today is to give you a profile of the consumers that receive services from Horizons, discuss elements of successful transition, since I know the audience includes young adults who are of transition age, they are family caregivers and professionals. The importance of self-determination, highlight READY, our learning program and outcomes, and then discuss effective community partnerships that promote student success. The Horizons School was established in 1991, and we provide a community-based educational program promoting successful transition to independent living for young adults with learning disabilities, autism spectrum, and developmental disorders. And you see here some of our graduates in one of our partnership faith communities celebrating their graduation. Who do we serve? This kind of busy graphic tells you a little bit about who comes to the Horizons School. We were established by parents of young adults with learning disabilities to be a post-secondary option. All of our students have to have a primary diagnosis of a specific learning disability. That might include autism, cerebral palsy, ADHD, etc. They have to show evidence of sufficient psychological maturity and stability, and they have to be functionally literate, have completed a high school course, not necessarily a regular diploma, but a high school course, as we are a functional applied curriculum that's after high school. Further, our consumers need to be capable of learning to live in a shared apartment with minimal supervision, have mobility to access the community, and can learn to manage their own medication and their personal health needs. They must be willing to engage in the program and respond positively to staff direction and instruction, and not require a one-on-one aid throughout the day. Also, we don't enroll students who have patterns of aggression or abuse toward self, others, or property. Because we're not a clinical program, we're a community-based learning program. Here's an illustration of some of our students in this picture. There's 4 students, 2 female and 2 male, on a community outing. So they're visiting Railroad Park, which is a great multi-purpose facility for Birmingham Parks and Recs. Elements of a successful transition. What's important, we feel, is person-centeredness planning. And you may be familiar with this concept in that there's a futures plan, and at the center of it is the young person with learning disabilities. In other words, gone, we hope, are the days where an agency or vocational counselor or a parent completely maps out the young person's future without their input. We have the expectation our students will succeed given the right supports and opportunities, and we want to engage the entire support team. So it's really important that the family is involved. It's important perhaps faith leaders are involved, the employers involved, all those who are important for their success. And we value self-determination. So the young person being able to make choices, sometimes great choices, sometimes choices that lead to mistakes, but you learn that way. We also think also important for success and transition is that the high school curriculum is aligned with what comes next, post-secondary requirements. So the young person who aspires to get an associate's or a bachelor's degree, their high school program should prepare them for college admission. If instead they aspire to have a fast-track industry certificate or to go to work, the courses they've taken should prepare them for that. And included within that is the ability to understand what soft skills are. These are kind of the unwritten curriculum, things like communication skills and eye contact, and being able to be empathic and respond to someone else. Having that instruction is valuable, and we continue that with our post-secondary students at the Horizons School. Also to emphasize innovation. Just because it hasn't been done before doesn't mean it can't be tried. And just because a person hasn't entered into that program before or that service or that employment setting doesn't mean they couldn't try. So the innovative part is really important to trying new things, such as our partnership with a local community college to establish a modified fundamentals cook curriculum. And then to seek those pre-vocational experiences. It's not necessarily the case that it has to happen for the first time after high school. There are pre-vocational experiences a young person can seek while in high school. Volunteer work, work with a faith community, an opportunity to job shadow and learn from things. About 2 million years ago, when I was a young person, I shadowed a chiropractor as I thought that's something I might want to do, and a pediatrician, and spent a summer with each. They allowed me to go in with their patients, with the patient permission, and I learned more about what those jobs are. So the pre-vocational experiences are important. And what we're talking about is moving away from a system-centered approach. The system-centered approach is one that's old school again, planning programs for the person's lifetime, mapping out very few options and saying you're either going to be a dog groomer or you're going to be a personal care aide without much input from the individual, and culminating in decisions that are made based on stereotypes. All people with autism are fill in the blank. That's very old school and not very fair to the individual. The focus is on filling placements, closing cases, moving on to the next person, and things that will please staff or maintain operations of an agency. And that's why in this visual, those are in shadow. What's in bold is the person-centered approach that we value at Horizon School. So the individual should have input in crafting what is the lifestyle they aspire to. Do they want to live alone in a community with a roommate? Do they want to live in group situation? Do they want to live in an urban or rural setting accessible to events and activities in the city? They should have an opportunity to explore careers, explore jobs leading to a career placement. They should have the opportunity to explore their community access, social and recreational activities that are aligned with their interests, their hobbies, their dreams. So those programs are organized on improving quality of life and increasing opportunities. And we aspire to that at the Horizon School. So what's self-determination? This is terms that you're probably familiar with, but it begins with the individual making choices, knowing who they are, learning who they are, and believing in their abilities and skills. Many times the young people that we encounter haven't had a lot of positive success opportunities. And in fact, many have been told you can't, you shouldn't, you won't. Rather than, well, let's try that. Let's see if that's a fit for you. Let's see if you have the capacity for that. So helping the family and the young person plan their future, knowing what options are out there and knowing what supports might be needed. So for instance, if they're going to get a job, they might need a physical modification of the workplace if they have a mobility impairment. They might need flexible schedule or opportunities for more breaks if they have a learning disability or if they're very sensitive to sound and environmental stimuli. Or if they're going to enroll in a college program, they might need things like disability support services for a note taker or extended time for test taking, or an opportunity to have an alternative format for instruction, maybe not just online, but maybe blended online and in person. So all that together is understanding what are my supports, and then which supports will I request and ask for that are reasonable, and learning from my success experiences and my disappointments. So who determines my future? The futures plan we're talking about is the individual learns self-advocacy skills, enhances their self-esteem, and makes purposive choices instead of kind of blowing with the wind and letting other people choose for them. Here's the hard part. I'm a parent, I'm a grandparent, I get this part too. Shifting the responsibility away from the adult leader of the family, the oldest member, or the teacher, or the caseworker to the student, and enhancing their ability to make decisions and set reasonable goals and learn when they implement those goals, what were the outcomes? Helping them to communicate what I need to be successful in my residence, what I need to be successful at school or at work. How do you encourage this? So on this graphic, you see two columns, one in green, go, do more. One in red, do less of these. Let's focus on the do more. To encourage self-determination, encourage young adults to make their choices and learn from consequences. Believe me, it's easy from someone who's had more experience to say, well, you might not want to do that, but my life and their life are different. I can provide guidance, but ultimately they have to make the choice and experience the outcome. So if the student is very eager to go to work, but not yet ready, and they apply to 9 positions and get an interview and don't get the job to 2 of those, it may be because they weren't ready. And they need to sometimes have that direct experience to understand why their career counselor is saying, well, we need to work on some pre-vocational skills first. Encourage the individual to set their own priorities for action and help them to understand what are your strengths, preferences, and interests. It's easy for many of us to identify preferences. It's harder to identify strengths and challenges. But that's equally important to understand what you can do, what you still need to learn in order to reach your goals. And to educate them about their rights and responsibilities related to their disability. Our program for learning is called READY, and it has three main components: pre-vocational training, vocational preparation, and for those who wish, dual enrollment for college success. We'll explore briefly some of these components. Our READY program components include things like workplace readiness training, so they learn fundamental skills and skill sets that transfer directly to the workplace. They learn skills for self-management, things like time management, taking my turn, practicing patience, also grooming and hygiene and transit skills, all important for me to be the best that I can, whether it's work or school. How to manage information and technology so it's not overused and it becomes the sole focus. So you're not victimized by somebody trying to sell or promote something. So you're not disclosing too much personal information. And you're communicating accurately and not impersonal, for instance. If it's a letter to an employer, should be more business oriented. Also learning how to advocate for yourself, how to communicate your needs, whether it be to a health professional, or maybe a transit rider, or maybe the bus driver, or maybe the scheduler at work. And then we work with students and we do vocational needs assessments. We look at their preferences, their work values. We look to find a match with the different Department of Labor career clusters that we can explore through job shadows and internships that get them ready for work. Also, our students get supported job prep training when needed and help with personal work adjustment when they have a job and maybe things change. There's a new manager, their shift changes at work, it's seasonal and they have to have extra shifts, for example, or they're experiencing illness symptoms and they know how to manage that at work. Who are desired partners? Because we were asked to speak about something about partnership related to a post-secondary program. Well, we do rely a lot on partners and three different types of partners: employers, faith-based organizations, and universities and agencies. So from employers, these are small and large businesses that help us with things like job shadows and training internships for students. You can think of those as a part-time job that's unpaid, but I'm learning job skills. And then paid jobs, which are integrated jobs. They're regular jobs they compete for and then go to work on a schedule and get paid. From our faith-based organizations, we depend on them for fellowship opportunities for our students, which is community integration, also internships and community service opportunities. In fact, we often do joint activities with them that help the students see their place in the community. So they're an equal important part of the community, and they can provide service to others, which is fantastic. From our universities and agencies, we seek field work where their professionals and their students come and serve with our students through service learning projects and things that improve our curriculum, as well as improve opportunities for our young adults, and then help us with program evaluation, for instance, looking at how the individual responds to the learning program or how the learning program in general can be improved. So what makes an effective partnership? I think a partnership requires trust and open communication and resource sharing and accountability. It cannot be that the post-secondary program makes the demands of the partner or that the partner makes all the rules and demands of the post-secondary program. It's got to be negotiated. We do that through a memorandum of understanding, which outlines the expectations for each. For instance, we have weekly expectations for health profession students from occupational and physical therapy as they mentor our students. And we have expectations for the faculty supervisor at the university, and they in turn have expectations for us to be available as a resource person, to help answer questions, to provide structure, to help with behavior management. When you put in place an effective partnership, then it's more likely to be sustained because each participant feels valued and connected and has an opportunity to participate in the plans as the program moves forward and then they need to be recognized through their effort. The benefits are a lot. So we're a small nonprofit agency, but we're in our 30th year, so we've learned something about partnerships. We like to engage young professionals because we see it also as these are the future leaders in health professions and education, and we want them to be aware of disability service issues and responsive to that. It also helps our consumers because they get more training opportunities and more supervision through additional mentors. It also brings creativity. They bring the latest knowledge from the classroom and from their profession directly to our consumers, improving our program. And then it increases awareness of who we are and who we serve within the wider community. Here's a graphic that shows some sample vocational training partnerships. And you see these hexagon type symbols, and it has some of our partners highlighted within each: board members, employees, our career courses, our higher education partners, our community career partners, our businesses, and grants, awards, and other support from philanthropic and foundations. So they've helped us with things like implementing industry career certificates through American Hotel and Lodging Association, or state food safety, or pro trainings, more opportunities for our students. They've helped us with job shadows and training internships and on-the-job coaching, paid employment opportunities. Sometimes for an employer, it's the very first time they've gotten past a little anxiety and they're willing to hire somebody with disabilities. So we offer disability awareness training for free to promote that idea. And then from higher education, they help us with developing orientation to college courses to make a soft entry for students with disabilities to the college campus, help with financial aid opportunities, even waiving some out-of-state requirements for our students who attend to our program full-time but actually come from out of state. They offer many fast-track and degree program services and tutoring support, and even peer mentoring from a student honorary society to help our students feel welcome on the campus. Our career development, in here in this graphic, you see 3 students engaged in pre-vocational skill training, 2 in our Horizons Cafe, which provides some work skills training where they have to receive customers and greet them, and then sell them coffee and light snacks based on a menu they've prepared, based on an inventory of food items they've purchased and competitively priced, and learn to use a POS system to ring up a purchase and practice good customer service skills and hand and counter hygiene. Also in the other image shows a young lady working with a local business, a florist, learning floral design. Simple illustrations of how we work with dozens of community partners to support our students. We want them, again, to do meaningful, integrated work. We do not seek a set-aside task or artificial work. We want them to explore what is an occupation. So they do that through independent research, class projects and activities and discussions, invited business people as guest speakers, community field trips, and career exploration, culminating in internships and paid employment. So soft skills are important, and families are participating in the Florida Family Cafe, and program staff are participating in this event. So you can do things to promote these soft skills. What can families do? You can model the soft skills with frequent role plays and community practice. It's okay to tell the student, no, you can't dress like that for a job interview, or wearing pajamas to class isn't appropriate, even if you saw someone else doing it. Or if you're not practicing good grooming or hygiene, I don't take you seriously. It's very good to give direct messages and feedback in that way. Maybe seeking in your community additional social skills, education, and training that's available, whether it's at your school or from a community agency or university. Many times an autism service provider offers these services. Cognitive behavior training to help the young person see the linkage between their thoughts, their feelings, and their actions, their head, their heart, and their hands, to help them make those connections and understand when I do this and feel this, it may result in this. And which impulsive actions might I stop? And which actions might I practice to do more at? So if you're somebody who's an introvert, you might need some more practice to identify your feelings, put the feelings aside of anxiety, and learn how to master a little bit of public speaking through direct practice. It's important you don't just look for a pre-vocational training that promises to teach a skill. So I'm going to go to this class, I'm going to learn coding. Well, that's fantastic. But wrapped around that should be, how do I communicate with other people? How do I look for jobs? How do I sell myself? How do I respond to others? How am I going to be in a reciprocal communication when it comes to a job interview, for instance? What can program staff do? Also train soft skills, but in very practical and applied manner. Promote that person-centered planning and self-determination, not the systems approach where the program decides in advance for the student. Oh, your job is going to be a cashier, and the young person has had no input on that. Providing specific feedback, guiding improved performance, and offer those pre-vocational training experiences like job shadows and internships and supported employment placements with direct feedback. Our pre-vocational training includes the opportunity for certification. We have general certification, and that includes things like hands-only adult CPR and first aid. We have COVID-19 coronavirus training, and that's very helpful for people that are going to be working in public settings presently and need to know how to respond to individuals who don't adhere to city, state, and local guidelines. And that puts them in an awkward position as the employee. We also have the OSHA 10 general industry standards training to help them understand workplace safety, preventing accidents, reporting hazards, and correcting those that don't then cause injury to others. And we have targeted certification, the retail industry fundamental specialist and the customer service and sales specialist, both from the National Retail Foundation. We have the certified guest service professional and the certified breakfast attendant from AHLA and AHLEI. And we have Serve Safe Food Handler, Hand Hygiene, and Home Kitchen Food Safety from State Food Safety. All of these certifications are aimed at getting the young adult ready for work by teaching them knowledge and skills that employers have identified as essential, particularly for beginning level jobs. So emphasizing innovation is important. What will the program or support service do to provide a set of pre-vocational, social, and life skills training that's responsive to what's needed in the workforce and also offered at flexible times? So some approaches you might look at is community colleges can often be a good first step, might not be as intimidating as a four-year college, and offer many opportunities for part-time instruction and virtual or blended in-class and virtual instruction. Some of our students prefer in-class small group. That's fantastic. And community colleges offer a wide array of courses. Consider some fast-track career professional programs, which are less than the requirements for an associate or bachelor's degree. Many of these can be completed in just 2 or 3 semesters and result in a certificate that's been created by and for employers, like culinary apprentice or a welding program. Dual enrollment programs. There are opportunities for students, perhaps while in high school or in a post-secondary support program, to also sample college life and see if there's a course that they can complete and maybe make it more likely that they can go on for a certificate or associate's program. Often our students do best if they're guided through the process. How do I apply for admission? What records do I need? What questions will they ask me? Is an essay required? What is the process of obtaining financial aid and completing a FAFSA? How do I go about starting that? Whose income do I report? Mine, my family's? And then the whole process of negotiating disability support services to request reasonable accommodations. Colleges and universities receive federal support and have disability support officers. But in this case, it's not that the school or the college identifies the student in need of service. The student must learn how to advocate for their own needs and do that with the disability support service first, and then with individual instructors as needed. So all those are really important if you're looking for a post-secondary program. Here's a case I want to give you of one of our former students. We've changed her name, but we're going to call her Cheryl. And I deliberately chose a graphic here, which is a manga graphic, as the student loved manga and got an internship at a bookstore. She's a 22-year-old with autism, and she has ADHD, attention deficit hyperactivity disorder. She began a new job for which she was very excited at a local bookstore. She likes the setting. She loves being around books and puzzles, and she likes the excitement of working. She likes the opportunity to interact with others. She's very social. She's learned how to organize and stock inventory. She's learned how to greet customers. and even to direct them to locations based on their preferences. Maybe they want manga. Maybe they want to know where adult literature is or history is. She's quickly learned the store layout. However, Cheryl finds it difficult to listen before speaking. She gets very excited and she's very eager to share what she knows, some of her preferences and some of her hobbies, that is, but she'll dominate the conversation and she may not really listen to the customer. So sometimes customers appear rushed, they don't have time for that, or uncomfortable, or not very interested, and she doesn't pick up the cues. What can be done? So we worked with her with some job coaching, learning to identify specific behaviors for change. She also responded really well to video modeling, showing her own self by taking simple videos on the phone on how she engages with others and using that as stopping points when she can learn, oh, I see that I'm doing that. Sometimes you have to see it in order to understand the correction. Then we use role plays with scripts. So if someone says this, how do you respond? If they ask that, how do you respond? When do you seek a more senior employee or your manager for help? For example, when a customer's dissatisfied or they have a return. And then responding to verbal and nonverbal communication. When someone looks away, they're crossing their arms, they're turning their back to you. These are all signals they're not interested in continuing that communication, and you should stop talking. And then positively reinforcing her, encouraging her when she does the good customer service practices. And Cheryl dramatically improved her performance, and her supervisor was delighted. So preparing for integrated paid employment, it's important as part of that self-direction process and that futures plan that included within that is a work-based learning plan. So lean on an employment specialist, lean on a vocational counselor, and the student's aspirations to decide what is a reasonable work plan. It would not be reasonable to graduate from a high school program and expect somebody within 2 to 3 months to go to work full-time, and pay for all their bills. That's not a reasonable thing. It's reasonable to have a graduate entree to work once the pre-vocational skills are solid. Looking for new partnerships with business and industry who are willing to embrace young people with disabilities and give them an opportunity through on-the-job training, supported job coaching, apprentice programs are really important. Offering that training to employers. What are disabilities? How should you respond if someone has an emotional outburst? What are some strategies you can use to help people who are easily distracted or need help with time management for instance, the use of task lists or video scheduling? And then teaching the employee skills through simulation and practice, service learning opportunities and job shadows, all leading to that paid job. So are we successful? So I'm going to end with some highlights from our most recent alumni and parent survey. So for our program outcomes, we realigned our curriculum several years ago to be compatible with the Workforce Improvement Opportunity Act. We want our graduates to be ready to work. And based on looking at responses from alumni and parents, they reported positive outcomes about pre-placement training, their subsequent employment, and independent living. The majority said they are working for wages following graduation, and most for 6 months or longer, which is fantastic. Because remember, prior to coming to us, very few of our students had ever worked for wages. And they further identified 8 skills that they always performed after graduation, skills they had learned in our Ready program, such as attending each scheduled workday and traveling independently to and from my job site, and dependability in managing my time, and social and communication skills, all very important to the successful employee. Further, alumni and parents rated work readiness behaviors, and they rated them in terms of level of assistance needed after graduation. And for the majority, they no longer needed direct daily assistance for things like eating healthy meals and scheduling clinical appointments, managing their own medication, dressing for season and for the situation, washing their clothes and linens, maintaining good hygiene, managing their mood and feelings, and maintaining friendships. But wait, how is that important to work? Those are all important pre-vocational skills and skills that sustain an effective employee. So if someone's not managing their budget well, or not managing transit well, or not maintaining clean clothing well, they're not going to be successful on the work site, which is why we teach those supportive skills. Parents rated similarly that their graduates were performing these at a high level, a satisfactory level. In addition, students who attended Horizon School had the opportunity for dual enrollment, as I mentioned, at a community college, or to earn a fast track certificate and career certificate programs we offer. And many did. And they felt that was a great achievement and helped them get ready for work. So the most common response to the question when asked, what was your greatest achievement since graduation, was maintaining long-term employment, which is ultimately a goal of ours. There's a high level of satisfaction among alumni parents and the graduates. And the outcome data shows that we successfully prepare young adults with learning and other disabilities for integrated employment and community living. We're happy to continue this discussion. So if you would like more information about the Horizon School, we encourage you to visit us online at horizonschool.org, or to reach out and contact Mr. Sean Jackson, our admissions and transition coordinator, by phone at area code 205-322-6606. Again, that's area code 205-322-6606, or by email sjackson@horizonschool.org. Thank you for this opportunity.